Good news for many, bad news for some. House prices have gone up again here in Dunedin. The current average price is now over $330,000. The last 12 months have seen an 11.5% increase. The last 3 months have seen a 3% increase in house prices. Lisa Scott, house buyers are going to be, people who are trying to buy a house are going to be screaming, we can't afford houses. People who own houses are going to be saying, yes, more capital.
My first thought on this was, I feel like 330 in Dunedin is $1 million in Auckland. I feel, because given that our salary is a little bit lower here,
right.
And I feel, yeah, it seems really high to me. But as you mentioned earlier, there's still going to be lots of houses under the 300 threshold in Dunedin, so it is still an affordable city.
Well, that's the thing. If the average is 330, that means you are going to find places, obviously entry-level places that are around the 200. There are going to be some that are 250. There are going to be some that are 300. And look, we've had conversations before about this on ODT TV, and I've kind of said if a first home buyer can't afford a $250,000 house, then they sort of can't afford a house.
Yeah.
And by that I mean the outgoings for a $250,000 house, if you include things like, you know, when a hot water cylinder blows up. If you can't afford that kind of mortgage, you probably can't afford to repay that. The thing at the moment that seems unfair is the 20% deposit. And I read an article yesterday that talked about the Auckland market that's just tipped over $1 million. It's gone up $169,000 in the last 12 months. $169,000. That means in the last 12 months, 20% of that is $33,000. So you would need to save an additional $33,000 for that deposit, just for what it's gone up in the last 12 months. So it's the deposit that I think is the killer, not necessarily the repayment levels. When you look especially at things like rent for Dunedin houses versus mortgage for Dunedin houses, they're very similar. So really we should be talking about the deposit, and is that 20% threshold really fair? The QV guys have got involved. They're the ones who have released all this information, obviously. And Duncan Jack, who is from QV in Dunedin, he said this about the house prices. We continue to see good sale prices being achieved across the Dunedin housing market, with demand remaining strong and solid confidence in the market. The other thing about this, I reckon, is I really am over all the politicians using this as fodder. I'll say it really simply, maybe overly simply. When the supply of houses outweighs the demand for houses, then prices will drop. I do not believe that there is a tax or an incentive or a fine or a fee that's going to make any difference to this. In other words, central government can't change house affordability. Local government can't change house affordability. All that can change house affordability is the people's demand for houses. So I really think this is a beat up for any political party right now. It's being used against National at the moment because National's in power, not necessarily because it's National's issue.
But there's no getting away from the fact that even here in this city, you can't stand still when a house comes on the market. They're getting snapped up so quickly, it's really a demand problem here too.
Well, that's it, it's a demand problem. So when the demand diminishes, either because people aren't buying houses or because there are more houses on the market, the prices will also either steady or they'll come back. So to me, I do wish the political parties would get off this dead horse and we'd look at the actual issues behind the increase in house prices, which is simply demand.